What's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and today we are going to be taking a step back in time, and we're going to be touching on Teal's Swan again. I know people have been very excited about that. I am also excited. I'm also recording this on the day that I'm going to have to go in for some pretty gnarly dental surgery to address some issues with my molars, and so I will probably be editing this while very grumpy and very not happy. But anyway, today, Teal is going to talk to us about wokeness. Now, the title of this video is Wokeism in Today's Woke Society. Take it away, Teal Swan.
Hey there. I do this episode today with a heavy heart, knowing that I'm stepping out on a limb by doing it because anybody who shares a viewpoint that contradicts the current in-style social narrative is immediately branded a villain.
Fascinating. I don't think that's necessarily true at all. In fact, I would say that it's quite possibly one of the most profitable things a person can do right now, actually.
These are strange times indeed within human society. The current trend within society is wokeness. And this should make a spiritual figure like myself very, very happy. After all, awakening is a virtue. Society is served by people being aware and well-informed. It's served by people being actively attentive to and also responsive to important societal issues.
Okay, let's break that down. Wokeism, as people use it today, is not used by anybody who would then be defined as woke. When somebody points and says, that's woke, at something that somebody likes, the person who likes that is not like, yes, I am so woke. Woke is not a descriptor that is actually used currently by people who are embracing being woke. It's a nonsense term that means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It is a very specific political tool that is used to represent thing that I don't like. That's all it is. And anybody who tries to act like a serious person and uses the word woke, they're not actually saying anything, and you can pretty much just disregard what they're talking about and ask them to use words that are real. But for somebody like Teal, this is very helpful because hers is all about this spirituality and enlightenment and awakenings and a bunch of nonsense like that. So woke kind of plays into the language of what she's discussing, and it makes it easier for her to point at it and be like, that is not what true being awake means or something.
But alas, I am not happy. Because the woke movement is not what people think it is. It is not wokeness at all. Instead, it is a human society that has fallen into yet another pothole of both ego and of unconsciousness.
Fascinating. This is fascinating. So, again, there is no such thing as a woke movement. What a lot of people misunderstand about this type of situation is when they're talking about, say, in the United States and other Western countries, where people are having a broader acceptance, they're trying to maintain some degree of societal cohesion where things that were inappropriate and are now even more inappropriate are pushed aside, and overwhelmingly everybody else is like on the same page. That's not a movement. That's culture. That's just where society is at these days. And usually the people who are rallying against it are doing so out of fear. But I believe that Teal has a different motivation for this, but we'll discuss it as it goes along.
What used to be a social movement that was fueled by empathy and compassion and the desire to make a positive change, and what once was a social movement that successfully exposed the dark reality of injustice and backward thinking that was latent within our society.
What is she talking about? Is she saying that, like, the civil rights movement is wokeism? Like, I don't really quite understand how you make this huge leap of, like, there was a drive in society where things were bad and people wanted good things for society, and now all of those people are now bad people because reasons. Not that this isn't just basically describing the overwhelming act of culture and how it shifts and forms throughout the years. Now I guess it's gone too far or something. It's very weird to me when people use this kind of language.
has devolved.
Oh.
It has devolved into a radical political and social ideology that, quite frankly, is flirting with authoritarianism.
Hang on. I don't think Teal Swan ever gets to use the term authoritarianism, okay? For those who haven't seen it, there's actually a documentary that was done about Teal Swan called The Deep End. And one of the best parts about this documentary, despite the fact that now she tries to say, well, it's all misinformation and blah, 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 the majority of it is just footage of her speaking and just saying crazy, crazy stuff. And one of the most striking was basically if you're in her inner circle, you don't get to date anyone that she doesn't want you to date.
I want you to be able to get partners. But I also, given what's previously happened, don't really want you to have partners. Basically, what this boils down to is I need to be able to get rid of you if you bring somebody close that's dangerous to me.
Teal Swan is a massive authoritarian. She is a cult leader. I mean, everybody knows it. Everybody who's not watching, who's not like hypnotized by her videos and her incredible vacuous lack of charisma understands that she is a cult leader.
Also, do you want to add children into this?
I can't be kept awake at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning before an interview by a screaming baby.
Mm-hmm.
All the girls here are on board. We're not having kids.
We need to write this down. I want this to be part of the contract.
And cult leaders always have to employ authoritarianism to maintain control. And so her trying to make this as a criticism is wild to me.
What all of you are is you're either my greatest protection or my greatest liability. I need you to see that today. So what we're trying to do is make up a contract to make you not a liability. Make no mistake. The current wokeness trend is not genuine awakening. It does not reflect genuine awareness or even intelligence. And it is often marked by false concern. If a society was genuinely woke, that would be a good thing. But the general direction of change that you're seeing within society today is actually a false wokeness. It's a gaslight.
Ah, gotcha. Yes, with your cold dead eyes, tell us all about how we're being gaslit in society, and actually all of the ways in which people are telling us we should be woke, which nobody is actually wrong. Please explain.
It is something disguised as the opposite of what it is. It is unconsciousness, disguised as consciousness. It is virtue signaling, disguised as concern for others.
Okay, we need to stop here. This is important, and we need to talk about it. It's always fascinating to me to see videos like this being made in current year 2023 when it's using rhetoric that is a good 7, maybe even 8 years old. Complaining about virtue signaling is one of the dumbest things you can possibly do. Everybody on the planet signals their virtue constantly. Everybody does. Everybody does. It doesn't matter what kind of politics you hold. It doesn't matter how like super based and red-pilled or woke and you know, enlightened or whatever. Everybody signals their virtue. When you start utilizing, especially when a YouTuber starts utilizing, and I know because I used to do it, virtue signaling as some sort of criticism, they are stuck trying to push a very specific, tired, and now very outdated propaganda. All right, so just ignore them because it's hollow criticism.
It is immorality disguised as morality. It is prejudice disguised as social justice. It is an assault against health disguised as measures that are pro-health. It is racism disguised as anti-racism. It is primitive ego disguised as evolved states of being.
I would absolutely love some examples of this. I think it would be great. It's not to say that I don't think it's impossible for these things to occur. In fact, I've seen these types of things occur, of course. But this idea that you can just, with broad strokes, paint this idea of anybody who is trying to act progressive, because this is really what she's talking about. Progressive values in society are now anti-progress, I guess. I need to know an example because the vast majority of the people on the planet are not doing this reverse Uno card with them trying to be good people, okay? That's not what's happening. I'm sorry.
It is further damage to traumatize groups of people disguised as help. It is a backward step disguised as forward movement. Don't forget that gaslighting is a form of mental abuse.
Oh, yes, gaslighting. It's not like we saw you do any of that in the Deep End documentary. Not at all. No, it's not like you're proven to be a known manipulator.
I can tell you about all kinds of personal truths about what you think is unhealed about me, and unhealthy about me, and unhealthy about the company I run, unhealthy about the house I lead, unhealthy about my dynamics with people. It's literally unhealthy. What? Yeah, this is what you've been doing since the minute you landed. You keep insulting me. It's all over your energy field. So I suggest you talk about that. Because if you're not aware, you have this smirk on your face.
A smirk? No, I'm afraid, actually.
You should be.
It's okay. Why don't you, woman famous for gaslighting, explain to us what gaslighting is? I can't wait.
And this is especially sad because today's performatively woke society is a society in which we are gaslighting ourselves and each other on a mass scale. This is one reason why, being part of society today, you might have this persistent feeling that something isn't right. You might feel a lingering sense of anxiety and maybe even hopelessness. You might feel totally out of alignment with other people, inexplicably frustrated and confused, maybe even like you're going completely crazy.
So there could be no real reason for that. Is probably just because of the woke society. Woke society is making everybody feel bad, and it's terrible, and blah, 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 blah. We're going to talk about this in just a second, but let's get a little bit more from her.
Like something is seriously wrong with you. Or you may be noticing yourself leaning towards political views that you, quite frankly, never thought you would align with before. By the way, if you want to know more about gaslighting specifically, you can watch my video.
Oh, shut up. Okay. Look, she's even hinting at the the skinhead meme. It's so amazing. Okay, I really want to point this out. One thing that I've noticed is a really fascinating situation in today's political landscape, usually due to people who are online far too much, way too much, is they get concepts poisoned to them by whoever is talking to them. There is this idea that wokeism or being progressive, just holding views of like dignity and equality and things like that are somehow gone out of control. But the thing is, I would wager if you take 100 people on one side, maintain them having no real exposure to internet pop culture and social media, and another 100 over here that are allowed to do it, and you ask them what their experiences are with these types of progress, the ones who are not actually paying attention to social media are going to be like, yeah, it's really good that we should fight for equality, and it's not fair that some people are treated unjustly, and we should maybe do something about that. Whereas the ones that are exposed to the overwhelming amount of constant, very well-funded propaganda telling them that these things are crazy will think that those things are crazy. This is exactly the opposite of what Teal Swan is talking about. The gaslighting is, in and of itself, the propaganda that is trying to compel you to think that these things are going too far. Is it possible that there are people in the name of progress that push some really gross, abusive ways in which they deal with people? Undoubtedly. I could point you to examples that happen quite frequently. But the thing is, we live in a society where now we have a globalized connectivity. So if you see something like that happen, it might have happened in a city on the other side of the country, but because you have people who will throw this in your face and say this is what's happening, it makes you feel like it's happening everywhere, when in fact these are usually not the case. These are very rare isolated incidences. And when somebody is a jerk regardless of whether or not they're pushing a political agenda or not, they're still a jerk. They're just a jerk. If somebody in the name of progress is abusive to you because of an honest mistake or just because maybe they're just a jerk and they want to be mean to you for some sort of political reason, that does not take away from whether or not we should, be kind to people and try and make everybody's lives better. It just means that person is a jerk. That's it. It's not any deeper than that. And it's so crazy that our whole dialogue about this is being hijacked by this kind of very explicit and intentional propaganda. But we're going to get there. 1 second.
Today we need to take a step toward actual awakening by seeing some of the main problems inherent within the woke society that we're experiencing today. 1. The most important thing to understand about the wokeism of today is that it is gaslighting on a mass scale. This gaslighting will corrode the well-being of every single member of society. On top of this, we must never forget that gaslighting sucks people into illusion, and thus further away from the real solutions to the very real problems, such as the social justice issues that we as a society are facing.
This is fascinating. It's like she's talking about herself. This is so weird.
Okay, what do we do?
People fucking hate. I need you to realize this. People fucking hate me.
Why do you feel you have haters?
I have haters because I wear high heels. I have haters because I charge $5,000 for people to come to a private event when they think I should do it for free. I have haters because I'm a female with a fucking opinion and I have power. And a vagina at the same time. 2. It is a movement within society that demands conformity, and that not only fuels, but that supports inauthenticity and dishonesty. It calls for pretense. Make no mistake, the woke movement within society today is one of zero tolerance. Even when it is forcing tolerance on the collective, it is doing so from a place of intolerance.
Here we go. Charles, the poppers, the paradox of tolerance. Fascinating. It's weird to me when people say these types of things, and I shouldn't be that surprised that out of all of the videos that come out like this, which is probably hundreds a week, that Teal is just this badly at articulating what she's trying to talk about. I mean, I really shouldn't be surprised, but here we are. Let's unpack just a little bit, okay? Hear me out. Number one, when you have somebody say promoting that we should all be treated equally, and then you're like, actually, that's unequal because I say so, and you don't actually give an example of it, you really haven't addressed the argument. You're just saying a hollow thing that people who are already primed to want that answer are just going to barking seal repeat back, okay? That's it. It doesn't mean anything more than that. It's just a hollow gesture. But also, there is the concept of tolerance and the paradox of tolerance. In this basic theory, if you have tolerance for everybody, and then somebody comes along with an intolerant viewpoint, say they think a gender or a race are subhuman, okay? You can say, well, we need to have tolerance for everybody and allow that person to speak just as much. Unfortunately, by being tolerant, you are now helping to spread intolerance. The basic fundamental question comes down to what is going to ultimately provide the greater good. Can that be subjective? Absolutely. People who like to espouse things like free speech absolutism, they want to hold on to that ideal and never really have to think about it very hard. But at the same time, you have to understand that viewpoints and ideas can gain steam if people are able to be manipulated into it. We have this beautiful ideal on the internet where only the best arguments will win out, because every human being out there, as we all know, is completely immune to being manipulated and led down the wrong path. In fact, never before in the history of ever have a group of people been misled and their tolerance for others eroded away until they commit atrocities and war crimes. It's never happened. It's never happened. So this type of argumentation, when you're constantly wanting to push that we have to have tolerance for even the most intolerant ideas, is a self-defeating it's a self-defeating argument because ultimately you are eroding away the very value of the conversation that you're able to have. You have to think about things collectively on what is actually going to promote the most good. Does that mean sometimes somebody who runs around and says some Nazi stuff needs to be stopped from doing that? Yes. Yes. Is that a very extreme example? These days, not really.
Even when it is forcing tolerance on the collective, it is doing so from a place of intolerance. And like all other dogmatic ideologies, it is rigid. It is black and white. It will not give room to anything that does not comply. As a result, it is just another movement trying to force compliance.
That's called society. That is how society has always worked. Always. Society has always... This is I am 14 and I am deep level argumentation coming from this hollow-headed cult leader. This is so bizarre to me. That is how society works. Society organically comes to the conclusions of what society will tolerate and what it will not. And being mad about that isn't going to do anything. You have to try and change society, encourage people, compel them. Because I've got to be honest with you, the people who are bad people in the world, they are trying to do that. Absolutely. And they're using lots of money to do that. 100%. They're actively trying to fight against what most people just collectively all agree on. Equal rights for everybody. Everybody should be able to, pursue their passions and have a happy, healthy family, place to live, good job, etc., etc., etc. We all agree on this stuff. We all agree. But there are definitely people who don't agree, and they are actively trying to push against all of us. Strangely, though, those people are not the people that Teal Swan has a problem with. Weird.
Let's be honest. Man is a social creature. When people are put under social pressure to comply and conform, they do so in order to avoid pain and gain rewards. But in doing so, they deny, suppress, and disown what is real.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, also, my pause game is so on point right now. This is amazing. This is good. This is really good. So a guy has an intrusive, bad, crappy, bigoted thought, and he suppresses it so that he can function well in society, but that's a bad thing, Like, we all have intrusive thoughts. We all have moments where, like, something pops in our head and we're like, ugh, I don't want to be that person. And what informs us of that is, one, our own conclusions that we've come to based upon our own life experiences, our interactions with others, our general mood and interfacing with society, but also societal rules. It's something that all is done together, in motion, constantly. We do that about everything, every aspect of our lives. And this is so brainlet level. This is amazing.
They slip into pretense. They become inauthentic, and they become dishonest. And nothing can be done to actually change what is real when what is real is being hidden. For example, if a society decides that racism is out and the new fad is support for a specific discriminated race, many companies will jump on board with that trend, and you will see people of that race dominating their marketing campaigns. But that does not mean that the people who run these companies actually agree with the new ideology.
I mean, you could just say it. You could just say that you think that corporations don't actually care about Black Lives Matter. That's what she's trying to talk about. Also, again, going back 2015, 2016, because this is really what she's doing. She's rehashing things we've heard for years. Obviously, corporations don't care. They don't care. They never have cared. That's why I always think it's funny when people are like, these woke corporations, blah, 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 blah. They don't care. They don't care. They see where society is. They see where pop culture is, and they try and market off of it. They don't actually care. Most corporations are 100% in the business of making money, and they will put their money into whatever political party is going to help them make more money. That is what they care about. That is overwhelmingly what they care about, which is why you'll have a corporation that will put up a Pride logo during Pride Month, or during Black History Month. They'll share stories about leaders of innovation in the Black community. Yet at the same time, they'll dump money into candidates that are supporting legislation that overwhelmingly keeps income inequality rampant. Or they'll be woke in a performative way in society, but then they'll go and exacerbate climate change. They'll support trade policies that continue to use slave labor. Of course they don't care, Teal. Of course they don't. Are you 12 years old? What are you talking about?
The people who run these companies could be racist as hell, but they are disguising themselves as a socially conscious company. Why? So as to not be canceled, so as to win public support.
What are you talking? It's not so they aren't canceled, it's so they make money. This is what I'm talking about. She has no concept of what she's even saying. She's feeding regurgitated nonsense. Nothing words. Like arguments that don't even make any sense, to try and just latch onto a new type of demographic of fan. And again, we're going to talk about it near the end, okay?
Or, for example, if a society decides that the right thing to do is to participate in a public health regime, and has decided to paint those who don't as a public enemy, those people who don't are then marginalized.
Okay, this is fascinating. So I guess Teal is anti-vaxxer, maybe? Or at least, COVID nut. It's very weird to me how, I guess, everybody not wanting to have a global pandemic kill millions and millions and millions of people, which, by the way, too late, is somehow woke. If your idea... Hang on. Okay. Can we? Yes. If your idea of being woke is not wanting millions of people to die, then how can you argue against that? I don't understand. I don't understand how you can be so delusional. Because the thing is, whether or not you think that there was like some big conspiracy with the COVID vaccines, newsflash, there wasn't, whether or not that's what you believe, you have to understand that the majority of people who got the vaccine and who are trying to do their best to mitigate a global pandemic that overwhelmingly was killing people, their motivation was a good motivation. How can you argue against that? And that the motivations of the people who were against it were born out of either paranoia, fear, or selfishness. That's where it all came from. Either somebody lied to them and got under their skin and made them afraid to take something that was safe, or they were selfish. There's no other option here. How can you actually sit there with a stone face and make this argument unless you don't commit even 5% of your brain into thinking? This is wild.
The dogmatic demand for conformity to what the majority has decided is right kills the ability within people to admit to and express anything that does not conform to that ideal.
Incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. Once again, you're arguing about society. You're arguing about how there are basic fundamentals that we all are agreeing on and saying that you can't say anything different. Of course you can say something different. It's just you don't like it when people reply with, "That's dumb," and "shut up." You can say anything you want. You're saying it right now. You have over 1 million subscribers. And what, are you being canceled for saying these things? Wow, it sure has worked there, Teal. That's incredible. You're repeating the same things that Tucker Carlson say all the time. Tucker Carlson is the #1 most popular news show on the #1 most popular news channel. News channel. And what, he's canceled? Because he's unwoke? How much more canceled can you be? than the most popular man on television. That is so crazy. How does that work?
It kills what is real and what is true. People in society don't actually have to change. They don't actually have to be awakened or informed. They just have to say the right thing and advocate for specific things in public and demonstrate a sense of solidarity against the current outgroups in order.
This is not happening. Unless you are somebody of some kind of public figure, you are going to go through your days 99% of the time, and you will never have to affirm one way or the other. But I would also say, in places where you might have to kind of affirm, if you're you're in a social setting and somebody's like blah 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 blah, it's going to be such a passive thing that unless you specifically hold a very, very firm prejudice, you're not even going to care. You're not going to care. Nobody cares. Everybody's just like, yeah, of course, equal rights, good stuff. That's it.
In order to be considered part of the newest in-group. You guys, this is classic, unconscious, human social behavior at its finest. Many people are celebrating the current woke trends as if they are a sign that society is changing.
Like what?
And is finally headed in the right direction. But it is not true change if people are doing it to fit in with the in-group or to avoid conflict or to gain social support or to feed their own ego.
What are you talking about?
3. Today's rigid woke culture is ushering in an era of cancel culture and an end to the freedom of speech.
An end to the freedom of speech? No, that's definitely not a thing. I would say the greatest threat to freedom of speech has probably been the legislation that was enacted after 9/11, many of which has never been repealed. Overwhelming government overreach, that actually is a threat to freedom of speech. What Teal is talking about is freedom from consequences. People who get super, super mega butt mad because they want to say some really abhorrent stuff, and then people will be like, that's really bad, you shouldn't say that, and then they shriek, ooh, you're canceling me. It's very dumb. It's very dumb, and it is one of the biggest crybaby things I've ever heard in my life.
Something is canceled, it is ended, it is nullified, it is eradicated. And today's wokest culture is looking to cancel anything that does not align with its own very rigid ideology.
Like what?
This includes silencing voices and blocking information that opposes its own.
Like what?
To learn more about cancel culture, you can watch my video titled Cancel Culture, What is Cancel Culture, and What to Do About It.
Yeah, indeed. Just brainwash yourself more with this toddler level this toddler level philosophy. Okay.
On top of this, the reality is that the woke culture of today displays the same dichotomous thinking that underpins the very social issues such as racism or sexism or homophobia.
Wait. Hang on. That it's maintaining a dichotomy of this. Okay, finish your thought, and then we're gonna have to talk about this.
It professes to be against.
How? Wait. What? How does she just say a thing and then just like, yep, and I'm not going to elaborate? What she just said there is so weird, so fascinating, that like the woke culture maintains a type of dichotomous decision when it comes to things like racism and homophobia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, it does. Wokeism, which is just modern popular culture, says that racism is bad and that there's a dichotomy there. That racism is bad and not being racist is good. That's a black and white. Can you explain to me, Teal Swan, what the gray zone is? That racism is good sometimes? Or it depends? Or homophobia? Bigotry? Like, how can you be like, they only give you two options when it comes to being hateful and bigoted. They're the bigots. And the option is be a bigot. Check yes or check no. What? This is the thing that I always find fascinating about Teal. All you have to actually do is just listen to what she's saying, and it's so easy to realize that she either has no idea what she's talking about or she's directly arguing against herself. It is so weird, and people just buy into it and continue to hemorrhage money for this woman's classes and stuff. It's weird.
5. Today's woke society trend gives the unhealthy ego a place to absolutely thrive. Because society sees wokeism as good and right, your ego doesn't have to do anything other than virtue signal now. So many people are saying what they are saying and are doing what they are doing, not because of a genuine understanding of what they are saying and doing, and not actually because of genuine concern or actual personal truth. They are saying what they are saying and doing what they are doing so as to feed their own ego and win the social approval of others.
Okay. Let's just as a concept here, let's say there's a person and they are deciding not to be racist because they don't want to be castigated from society. And so they just decide, like, I'm going to try my best not to be racist. I'm going to expand my mind into trying to see everyone as equal and as a human being. I don't care if they decided to not be racist because either they had a spiritual epiphany or because society compelled them into that. I'm cool with both. I don't have a problem with either of those things, and I don't know why anyone else would either. Whether or not it's genuine, if they actually make the change, they become a better person. The more better people we have in society, the better society is. The better our societies become, the better the world is. That's what progress is about. Like, if every time they say woke, you just think progress, then it's a lot easier to understand why these are such garbage arguments. Because progressivism is simply trying to improve the human condition. That's it. It does not mean anything more than that. It's what people attach onto it, and wokeness is what everybody wants to conflate and get things muddled up, so you don't actually have a real conversation.
A person can feel like they are such a good person by putting a performatively woke sign in their front lawn.
So what?
They can feel superior by using the right pronouns when referring to someone else.
So what?
They can...
Is any of that bad? Is it bad if somebody wants to put a sign in their yard? That doesn't bother me. Why would I be bothered by somebody putting a sign up? Who cares? And if somebody is willing to take the time to try and be respectful of somebody's pronouns if they know them, why do I care about that? Why would anybody ever care about that? That doesn't bother me. That doesn't harm me. I'm not wounded by any of this. What is this complaint?
Feel self-satisfied by posting a meme about cultural appropriation.
So what?
They can...
If you don't want to see what people post on their social media, don't be friends with them or block them. Why do you have to be so whiny that, like, oh, I don't want to see these people's fucking memes? Like, that's a you problem. Just block them. What is your problem with any of this?
Can feel righteous by publicly championing the latest public health regime. Because of this, our actual subscription to the...
She's so upset about all this. This actually bothers her. I was pretty sure she was just doing this to try and siphon in more of that political persuasion's audience. And this is all, like, very performative. I think this actually does bother her. I think she's been spending way too much time on Twitter or something. And maybe she's watching too many videos of neckbeards. I say it, I need to shave my neck. And it's actually bugging her. How fragile do you have to be to drive down the street and you see a sign and you're like, I don't like that sign about equality. I hate it when people use the right pronouns and people are asking them to. Like, this is so weird.
The wokeness is actually skin deep. This is clearly seen in the fact that our everyday behaviors
This is amazing.
Definitely do not match the concern for social issues that we show online. In fact, our daily behaviors often directly contradict the performance that we put on for the public.
No kidding. Wow.
6. Today's woke culture is a byproduct of very wounded individuals who are bitter as a result of having experienced unfairness.
Okay, that's one, not true. But people who have suffered injustices, it would be good for us to do things so that they don't have to have injustices. There's this old adage, I've always felt like it was true. A nation is only as good as it treats those that are of the lesser, which is not to say that the lesser people or whatever, but like to say the poorest of them, or those who are the most downtrodden, those who are the most castigated in society. A nation is only as good as it tries to lift those people up to bring everybody to the same level. And this weird thing that Teal throws all of these things into wokeness, but actually wokeness is all from bitterness, is very bizarre.
And whom, as a result, have essentially weaponized their resentment. Because of the unfairness that they have experienced,
Wow.
They blame other people, usually a specific outgroup, for their disempowerment.
This is literally what she did in the documentary about her, The Deep End. Like, this is so weird. This is so crazy. This is literally what she did. Like, she went and the guy that she had been with for years and years gets this girlfriend, and she basically pushes her and him out and causes this group to collapse in on and shun him and push him out.
I am posting in the Teal tribe about how I'm stepping back from TLI.
Oh, there we go. There it is.
Thank you, Blake Dyer, for all that you have done for Teal, the team, and the tribe. I can imagine it's a tough decision to make. Wish you all the best and support you in following your happiness.
This is men. This is men that are encouraging him abandoning me because of high pressure. I want you to sit with that for a minute.
The very thing that she is saying, wokeness, which she won't even really define more than just things that make me upset, is the exact same thing that she did on a smaller scale. Because she's an authoritarian cult leader. So, I mean, I really shouldn't be that surprised. I feel like I could keep going forever on this. I really do. This video is incredibly stupid. And again, baby brain level argumentation. But this is what I do want to mention, and this is what I think is kind of fascinating. Overwhelmingly, article after article over the past few years, there have been a huge increase of money being hemorrhaged into media creation. This is to fund anything from investigative journalism, like this garbage, to smaller scale YouTubers. In fact, quite a few people that I used to associate with were approached to take part in this thing. Some turned it down, and some obviously jumped onto that train. But the thing that's really fascinating about this whole situation is that this money is continually hemorrhaged into these spaces. There is very much a concerted effort to influence society using money, and it's in one direction. I've heard lots of people say, well, it's also in the other direction. Well, ain't nobody coming to me offering me a paycheck these days. So if they are, if there's any woke progressive media organizations that want to like help fund some disinformation agents, you just send them my email address. I'd really appreciate that, because they don't exist. They're not there. But we have the evidence to see that it is happening on one very different and specific side. And it pushes a very, very simple narrative. You can almost see, if you pay attention to the right kinds of channels, that they'll all start making the exact same videos on the exact same day, using the same type of catchphrases and rhetoric. And this happens all the time. And it's not just simply in, like, say, YouTube, but there's that crazy clip from Sinclair Broadcasting about how media can be very much influenced by coordinated money. Like, check this out.
And an agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 So my suggestion is very simple, all right? It's very simple. try and be a good person. That's it. And if somebody is also pushing, like, you know, trying to make things better for everybody else, but then they go too far and they're a jerk to you, tell them they're a jerk and stop listening to them. It's that simple. But don't get influenced don't have your values influenced because one person randomly says something really crappy and then a bunch of people on YouTube videos start telling you that that's how society and totally is and blah, 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 blah. It's dumb. Your values should be your values. You maintain those regardless of what everybody else is trying to fill your head full of, okay? And for the love of God, don't ever listen to Teal Swan because she's a crazy cult leader and her brain is on the same level as a lump of rotten cabbage. Yep, that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, guys. Wish me luck on healing from my dental surgery. I hope you are well. I hope your family is well. From mine to yours, take care of yourselves and each other. See you next time. Bye-bye.